why are you fighting this situation? He's a good guy. And I went back to that list I was telling you about, and I started praying, and I started realizing everything that I had on that list, he was checked off. Every little thing, every detail, he checked off. But I was kind of apprehensive because I had a condition, a physical condition diagnosed. And our pastor mentioned before, he said, you gotta be careful about putting that, when you're getting married, that people can handle that. So I was like, well, I don't want him having to deal with my medical condition. And I was pushing him away because of that. So I'm like, well, he can't handle that, and I don't want to put that burden on him because my situation at the time was really serious. But the blessing is one day when I finally started to slowly pull down those barriers, he said, Sharina, very sternly said, Sharina, stop it. I'm not going anywhere. I don't care what's going on with you physically. I'm not going anywhere. And that's when I finally said, I surrender. And I really just gave it to God. And that's when we kind of just realized, okay, I really love this man. That he's, regardless of whatever I'm going through, he's telling me that he's not going to go anywhere. When you're dealing with a condition, a medical situation, to have someone strong enough to say that I'm not going, I love you regardless, that's unconditional. And that's what really made me realize that this is what I want to be with, and that God put me with him. So.
Alina thinks she's gonna be in it.
She can if she wants.
You wanna be in it, baby?
She said no, heck no. Let me get on that tablet instead.
No, you good.
So no more kids, huh?
Oh,
jeez.
Yeah, I said I wanted 4 when we started, and then 2 was like, oh, this is so hard.
Oh,
so much work.
No, I totally hear you.
Let's God say, miraculous thing.
And then you want to get. So yes or no more kids? We want to know.
Yeah, we did talk about adopting. We did. So maybe the Lord puts that in our path. We'll do that.
Okay.
As far as my family, pray about that one.
Yeah. Well, because divorce is like that's the worst thing that ever. Divorce is terrible. And now I see why God hates divorce. Because when I got divorced first time, and it was the worst one because my son was involved. There's a lot of things that you go through, It's hard to see, your son with another man in the house. Whether he's a great guy or not, it's just that the way that he's raised is different from how, I envisioned raising him.
Yeah.
So when the family unit is torn and broken up, wow, it's susceptible for anything. For the enemy to jump in. How long have you guys been married for?
We've been married for almost 15 years.
Oh, I got
13 years.
My bad. So what I just did right now, I maybe shouldn't ask that question.
No,
that's fine. That's fine.
We're so like.
In all fairness, us guys forget, that kind of stuff.
I'm the one who's known that
Actually, it's 13 years.
It's 13.
13 years.
Yeah.
We've been together for 14.
I just like to push almost 15. I like to push it up.
Probably why I'm divorced, but anyway, so the truth. I need to start using that Facebook more often. You know how it does.
You're hilarious.
Yeah, so my motto is if she's not on Facebook, I'm not dating her because I can see all the dates and everything. I'm just kidding. I'm just kidding.
Yeah, 13 years.
Well, we've been together
14 years. So yeah.
How'd you guys meet?
So we met at our old church through a mutual friend in the lobby or vestibule of the church, and we were kind of all involved in this multi-level marketing program, and all of us were in the same age range.
Were you doing all this as a pastor was preaching? Or?
No. Right. We weren't listening very well.
I see that. Whoa. And God still blesses them. Can you believe that?
So we went out to a couple of these multi-level marketing meetings and just got to hanging out, and then I finally asked a friend of hers and ours, hey, who is that? And he introduced us, and then the rest is I will let her tell the story, but it was like an uphill battle.
That's
kind
smart.
of.
Let her tell the story because we forgot. No.
I don't know if he likes me telling the story. He always goes, there you go again, Serena.
Yeah, it's like my cue to leave.
I'll be honest with you. I had just gotten out of a relationship prior to. It was a really weird situation, and I was like, the Lord, it's just me and you. I'm not focusing on anybody, And all of a sudden, here goes this guy, and I'm like, who are you? Like, no, I'm not. I don't even want to deal with anybody. But it was really funny because we met through a friend. His name was Brian, and I remember.
Hold on. We met through David at church, and then Brian kind of like.
I didn't know you then. I think you asked about David. I didn't even know you were talking to him.
Yeah, but David introduced us in the lobby together.
Maybe he did.
And then Brian came into the picture.
Maybe.
All right, so go ahead, finish.
Okay.
So we thank the Lord for Brian?
Yeah, thank the Lord. He doesn't let us forget.
Never.
Like he remembers our anniversary and he'll be like, hey, you guys have been married this amount of time. I'm like, man, Brian.
So Brian, if you're listening, God bless you. You kept them married for 13 years. That's awesome. Brian, I need you in my life. I need you in my life. Not like that.
He was the matchmaker.
He's the matchmaker. Yes.
So what happened was I wasn't really looking forward to dating. I
Can't pick it up. I'm sorry.
I had prayed, and it was fun because I had written a list, about what I wanted. As far as in a man, I wanted him to be spiritual. I wanted him to be love God, love kids, and have this whole long list. So, okay, Lord, this is a guy. Of course, what I thought I wanted, right? And all of a sudden, he comes around, and it was a weird situation because I remember it was Thanksgiving, and Brian was. We were at the car, and all of a sudden, here Jamal was kind of there. So it was kind of I was going to invite a couple people over to the house because my mom kind of did a whole event. And he was standing there, so it was kind of awkward. So I had to invite him.
They had to invite me.
So
it's the sympathy pity invite.
I guess you can come too.
That's happened in my life too.
Right.
But it ain't about me, so. It ain't about me. Just sit here and play my position.
So he comes over, and
So all three of us.
all three of us coming. Come other people.
David. No, me, Brian, and
Come other people.
a couple other people.
And so at the end of the night, when people are actually trying to do something. Like, I'm like, let me see how to I have a feeling. I'm like, oh Lord, I don't know. I'm not ready for this. And he's on his little bug.
I had a Volkswagen.
He's always trying to be cool, talking about, hey, so I'm like,
Well, when it depends. What year was this bug?
Oh, it was like it wasn't an old school one. It was like a 2011 or something. But I started off with the 72 though.
Okay, but
this time it was like a newer bug.
well, God is good anyway. Still. Now I know that was God. If it was a 70s Beetle, then it was him. Hey, God is good all the time, I guess. He's blessed.
trying to be cool in the car. Telling myself, can I get your number? And I'm like,
In that?
I made it very clear. I said, well, we can be friends. But that's about it.
You gotta get rid of that bug first.
That's what she said. We could be
I
friends.
said, we can be friends about this. And so I remember him, remember the first date? That was about, I think you said,
Oh my God.
So I was just being
Yeah.
so super spiritual.
Super spiritual. So, it was like
You're one of those, huh?
Yeah.
I was one of those.
Isn't that hard?
It
When
was
you talk
hard.
to a super spiritual
It was
person.
But
hard.
that's the point where I was like, oh my goodness, and do all this. It
But
was
she was really into the Lord's leading and being very discerning for the signs. So I was like, I'm gonna take her ice skating.
That's hard.
I was like, I'm gonna take her ice skating. So we drove all the way to the ice skating rink, and we're driving up, and then I think either the road was closed or one of the entrances to the ice skating rink was closed. And she's like, is that a sign, Lord? We're not supposed to be doing this. And I'm like, come on, man. I drove all the way over here. Come
gave him a
on.
hard time, right?
So I just found my way into that parking lot, and then we
With the bug, it should be easy because it's small.
And then we had a good time.
We had a good time. It was fun.
Was she spiritual to where you have to pray and fast in order to talk to her?
No.
There's been some women where I'm like, they're super spiritual where I have to fast for 3 days and then be able to go talk to her. I have to be on that level. And that's a good thing. That's a good thing.
So I had previously I had dated a lot older men. So and I'm actually a couple months older than only 6 months. Like for me, that was like huge because I'm like, you know, I've never dated anyone close to his age, you know, or even close to my age.
I'm 38.
So that means they know how old I am.
Yeah. And that, everybody, is not being edited. The good thing though is that you both look like you're in your late 20s. Well, you anyway.
No, that's all right. I get a lot of the. It's just the.
I might get shanked later on after this show. So if I get killed, just know I love you guys in Jesus' name. You guys are awesome.
So FYI, someone thought that I was.
So I'm gonna beat him up.
Just speak on that. Someone thought that I was his daughter.
What?
Yeah.
They were like,
it's the gray. It's the gray.
I was like, no, that's my husband.
Yeah.
So I thought those were, you know, his kids, and you guys were all
Just age. I just age older, you know.
Big sister.
I just age older.
No, you can look good. It's black doesn't crack. It's just the gray.
It's the gray. It's the gray.
When he shaves it off, he's a kid.
Yeah, she likes me to shave it, but I like my beard.
Yeah, you look wiser, bro.
I like the distinguished.
I'm sorry.
Anyway,
I'm not gonna live today.
No, you're fine. Where were we?
we're talking about.
So yeah, I had to date older men, and so I just need to make sure whoever I was going to be with would be, you know, someone who can. I was always independent, so I wanted to make sure that, you know, they can take care of me. I'm tired of doing this on my own. So I'm like, if I told him, I said, I prayed to God, I said, if I date again, because I had a really weird situation prior to, I said, it has to be like this is it. This is ready for marriage. I'm not playing it. I didn't want to hip hop in the church where different people. That's not my thing.
Yeah.
Very private person in general. So I had to make sure he was you know, going to be able to take care of me.
Yeah.
In a sense. So
I think she just wanted someone who wasn't gonna play games
yeah. Someone
And pay the bills.
and pay the bills.
It's just a man.
It's true.
Take care of it. It's secure. You know. That's so important. There's a lot of people out there who just out of pocket. You know, and just about playing games and, you know, not serious. You know, I need him to be to take care of me. I mean, not in a sense of like I just need him to be a little elevated than me because I'm so independent. So if you can make sure that I can be able to be a woman and be submissive, I can be able to trust that you take care of the situation. And I think that was really important.
That is so true because we want women to be submissive. Well, the Bible does talk about it, right? But are we gonna love our wives? The Bible talks about that too as well.
Talks about that first.
First, it's first love our wives, and not only that, but why is a wife going to be submissive to a man that doesn't, worship the Lord and be guided by the Lord? Because He's number one, God's number one, right? And then we're supposed to be like the priest of our household. But if we're over here like abusing our wives and like not going to church and being, all this, then poor thing, like she's gonna want to,
Neglectful.
exactly. Like I don't, we football first before church and before our wives. We're like, no, you can't do that. And those are things that, that I'm learning, right now as well too. So.
But I did want to say, because you did say that I have to pray and fast before I talk to her. Not specifically for her, but I had this thing in my mind because, I got saved and the church I was going to, there was like over 1,000 people. And so I just didn't want to get the reputation of someone who just like dated around in church, all these girls. So I was really diligent about just praying for the one. Like, Lord, I told the Lord, I don't want to date around. I just want to find whoever you have for me and make that's the one. I don't want to be like, oh, you dated her, it didn't work, you dated her, it didn't work, you dated her. So I did a lot of praying like about that.
I didn't know that, by the way. See, there was a lot of stuff that I did that I'm sure he didn't know about. I was praying for the husband that, I wanted, as far as the holy person that he was, you know that he was doing the same thing. So that's how you know God is really working on it.
And this is why we call this show the Love Connection. Because we're just making it strong. We're saving lives out here, brother.
Saving lives. And, even when I tell young girls, you have to make sure that you're ready to be a wife. We want the glitz and glamours and the idea of marriage. We're not ready for anyone to be a wife. And when I actually wrote to the guy, I said, okay, Lord, it's you and me seriously because I need to make sure that, yes, this is what I want, but what am I going to do too? So I had to ask God, help me to prepare myself to be the best wife I can be, the best, woman, child of God, whatever, mother, if that would be that case. mind you, I never thought I would get married ever. Never thought I'd get married. Never thought I'd have kids. Not because I didn't want them. It's just it was never in my. I was like more of a tomboy. It was never in my mind to, even go there. So.
Yeah, I mean, we both came from kind of our family backgrounds were kind of single parent households. So we both grew up. I mean, I grew up not seeing what a marriage looked like, firsthand, and she grew up seeing what a marriage looked like, and then it wasn't there. So.
But then I did have my grandparents. They're Caribbeans and a lot totally different. You're dealing with Caribbean. My family's from the Caribbean, so there's something altogether different. They just I won't go there, but they have love my grandparents.
Yeah, we don't like Caribbeans over here. I'm just kidding. I'm just kidding. Oh man, I'm dead.
My grandparents.
Was the hardest year for me to just get myself. I couldn't hold a job. I couldn't do nothing. It was just worse, and that's actually part of what made her want to leave too. Was the fact that it was just.
We want to make sure that we look. Guys give women. I'm like, wait, let me go back. And then you step back again. Guys give women a bad rep sometimes because they're like, oh, she's a gold digger and she only cares if I have a job. She only cares. Well, that's good. Like, you should have a job. You know what I mean? I love you, but how are we gonna pay the bills? And a woman wants to. So like, she has to, make sure. Like, if I had a daughter, I'd be like, hey, does he have a job? What's he do for them? And like, he doesn't have to be a baller. He doesn't have to, But as long as he's able to provide for you, and that's really important. Us guys, let's be real. Us guys, we have a certain idea of a woman that we want. We may not really like care like what kind of job she has. Sometimes, not all guys, but most of the time we're just like the first thing when guys get together, what do they say? Oh, is she bad? That's the only thing we talk about. That's the physical. We're like, hey, is she bad? Like all that, right? And that's good because there has to be some type of a physical attraction. But also, the most important thing is, does she love God? Does he love God?
Right.
But no, a woman wants to be secure. Awesome, because guess what? A guy has a certain type that he wants as well. So it goes two ways.
And I'll be honest with you.
Go ahead.
He wasn't my type.
Here we go.
That's my cue. Usually.
Here we go.
That's usually where I leave.
They got a pool table somewhere. You got a pool table. Go get some ping
I
pong.
had a certain type, and he was just the opposite of it. But it goes to show that God gives you what you need, not what you want.
Darn it! I think I'm gonna just stay single then. I'm just kidding.
But it was so I had really put him.
She made it very, very difficult in our dating, in our courtship, in me pursuing her. Like, it was like,
because he needs to.
You want to be with me. You need to work. Like, you need to show. You know what I mean? And maybe it's because of the other guy she dated that she had like his guards up. So I had to like break through all those guards just to show like, hey, I'm for real. I'm serious. I'm stepping up to the criteria, and it was definitely obviously worth it. I remember a specific moment where, like, I remember earlier in our conversation we were talking about how God speaks to us, and I have always struggled with, like, is that God? Did he say that? Did he do that? But this one instance, I felt like I really heard him clearly when, like, we were dating and we were going through stuff like where she was like, we were playing this cat and mouse game, and I felt like for one moment God was like, do you like her? Do you want her? And I was like, yes, Lord. And he said, go get her. And that was like the clearest that I've heard from God, like the green light, like to do what it takes, do whatever it takes. And I was willing. I was there. I was willing to be there with her when she dealt with certain issues in her life and just all kind of crazy stuff. It was like you're putting in the work of being a husband before you're actually the husband. You know what I mean?
That's the Bible says that, he that findeth a wife find a good thing. So I'm guessing, like, does that mean, obviously, we want God to be in the picture, we want God to choose for us, but the Bible does say he that findeth So should I be searching? Should we be searching? Should we? I mean, and it's something to where, I mean, look, yes, we're I guess we can seek. The Bible says we will find it, but we keep God first in everything we do, because I can go search at the club, you know what I mean,
Right,
and
right.
find one.
Where are you
and,
searching?
And twist the word and be like, hey, I found it, you know.
Yeah.
And she gets bad at, you know.
Yeah.
But
She's
she's
bad at
bad at
Batted.
but you know, yeah, but she's not saved.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
it's we have these wisdom.
Just to clarify, there were certain things, you know, just to kind of say, I did give him a hard time, but I needed to make sure that because he was young. So I still had this, I had put up all these pieces.
Way younger.
But for me, that was big. And women are technically usually more mature than me, let's be honest. Especially our age group. And in the 90s, I'll be dating a lot of
Wow.
Come on, let's be honest.
Wow.
And so I had to make sure. So there was a lot of boundary, I guess, strongholds I had to break down as far as, and I had to recognize that some things was vanity, and not in the sense of because of the physical, but just more of what I thought I wanted. You know what I mean? And I think that was the biggest thing.
I think expectation in relationship is like very, very key, because you go into a marriage or a relationship expecting one thing, and your spouse or significant other expects something else. And when those expectations are not met, that's where we get the conflicts from. So having realistic expectations is very important.
Yes, it is.
For both sides.
Yes.
And I guess sometimes for couples, the only way to gain that understanding of what marriage is really like is you have to find a couple that's a little bit older than you, that they're doing this thing, and you hang out with them. You do life with them, so you can see like, oh, that's how you treat your wife. Oh, that's how she treats her husband. Oh, this is the problems they have. So, and even like a couple years ahead of you is good, because now you get to see, oh, this is what it looks like when they have kids and they're married and they got to juggle all this stuff. Like, so you're not going in blind, unless you came from a household that had your parents were together and they're married for whatever amount of years, and you got a good vision of that. But if you're like us and you didn't have that, then you got to find people that you can look up to. So thankfully, we had a lot of older couples in our church that were married. It was kind of like a marriage culture in our church, where it's like, yeah, you get married, like, you know, it's like, unless God is giving you the gift of singleness, you know, to be a eunuch or whatever.
On top of that, I think what was key for us was that I think when we started off as the understanding that this is not going to be, I guess, really more about a friendship. We were able to really get to know each other. Even though it was a short period of time, like, it felt like a long time.
We didn't date long.
We
We dated for a year.
No,
and then
less
we
than
were
a year.
less than a year, and then we were like, we gotta get married.
But we were in that.
That was like us.
Yeah, it was
a
very
friendship though. It was a true. We were friends. We talked about a lot of stuff. Even though there was a lot of that he says Captain Knowledge chase, we were friends and we were getting to know each other.
Yeah, we got
Good, bad, and ugly.
we get along, but I mean, obviously there's a lot of forgiving that has to go on in a marriage, and there's a lot of pride that has to be stripped away on both sides. Always says that she started saying from the beginning is, we don't believe in divorce. We don't believe in divorce. That's like, it's not an option.
That's awesome. And one thing, and I'll be honest too, and another thing that's kind of important also as well is, and you know, I don't know if this is biblical, it's more like, I don't want to say hearsay either, but I know a lot of people talk about love languages, right? So one thing that I made, well, my second marriage failed, was because I thought that love language was a bunch of trash.
Put it bluntly.
Right. I mean, you know, my idea of being a husband, being a man is, you know, I work, I pay the bills, you know, all that stuff, and that should be enough. You know, I come home, I say I love you, you look good today, you know, and I mean,
what more do you need,
what more do you want me to do? I do some dishes, you know, whatever. When I really should have taken into account that maybe I should have cared about her feelings more. You know, that's the reason why I would never badmouth my exes, because it takes two. You know, I mean, I can say a lot of things, but at the same time, was I trying my hardest? Did I care about your feelings? Did I I even care about what you're into, your interests?
Yeah.
Or was I kind of like, whatever? You know, you got your homegirls for that. You know,
Right.
so yeah, it's really important too. Is as simple as, hey, babe, you know, what's your? Oh, that's
No, you're good. You're good.
I'm gonna get stabbed everywhere. Bleeding over right now. But you know, like,
No, you're good.
Like, you know, like what do what do you want to do? What are you into? And I should already know what she's into and like surprise her with something, you know. But instead, it was more like, what does Courtney want to do? What's Courtney into? So. Yeah, I mean, and this is really important. This is why we're doing the love connection, because, you know, we want to. Nobody talks about love and what love really looks like. We just have an idea of what love should look like. And the issue is that we find it in movies. We find it what our friends talk about. Our friends are telling us about love, but they're over there being abusive to each other, right?
Yep.
So
Yep.
learn a lot from godly counsel. The Bible talks about, you know, getting wise counsel. So. I think it's a blessing that. Now, what do you think made because 13 years is a long time nowadays. You know, my grandparents were married for like 65 years. You know, and if they were still alive, it'd probably be 75 by now. No, 70 years. So they didn't get married when they were in kindergarten. So, but it would have been like 70 years. And I know what worked, because my grandfather always told me what made it work. I was just too stupid to really listen. And plus, I wasn't living in Christ. I was not living in the Spirit. I was living in the world. What do you guys think, guys and gals, think that kept you together for so long? Because obviously, you're gonna get tired of waking up to that same person. Maybe that person might say something or has I don't know, they might not wash the dishes in warm water and it gets you upset. It's cold water. You're like, why are you doing that? Or whatever. You guys have your habits. Even though you're one flesh, we still have our habits. So what kept you guys together for 13 years and still in love with each other? Because at church, you guys still sit next to each other. I know couples at church that don't even want to sit next to each other. Like, one is sitting over here, one is sitting back there. And I'm thinking, oh, she must be single. No, she ain't single. She's been married for like 2 years. 2 years, they should be still, you know, but they're not. So, but you guys are together like peanut butter and jelly? Or
Yep, peanut butter and jelly.
yeah, like tuna and mayonnaise?
White on rice.
Well, we can't say white on rice because then, you know, it's a race thing, you know, like fried chicken and waffles, but, you know, I'm black, so it's okay to say.
I too.
We're all black, so
Your mom let you.
I don't see no nasty comments, okay?
There's a huge dynamic of things that obviously have made it work, but the foundational thing is definitely our relationship with God first, and then that relationship with God and His Word horizontally shells out to our relationship to one another, how we treat each other. So we're both on the same page there. We both have the same goal. We both are taking our cues from the same place about how we should live our life, how we should respond to each other. So having our relationship with God, it was the thing, the glue that just held us together. And then we surrounded ourselves with other couples who were of the same mind of we're all striving to live for God in our marriages as men. So we would do, well, we never did a marriage retreat, but we did one recently, but we would do like individual retreats where the men are learning how to be godly men, the women would go on women's retreats, and then we would come back together. And then we had mentors. So one of our mentors told us that as a husband, you should always be studying your wife. So it's kind of like what you're saying about the love language. Even if you're married for 20 years, every day you should be some way, somehow learning something new, or at least studying something about your wife that you did not know, and husband before, right? And then the love languages is very key. So I know, I mean, I wasn't too keen on the love languages when I first encountered it, but
I like that too keen.
Yeah.
I said trash. Again, that's why I've been married for 13 years. I've been married to, well, I'm divorced. So.
I wasn't like into all of that. Hadn't even known about it, but
I was born.
Yeah, but it was like, then you start looking at it and you start understanding yourself more. Like, oh, okay, my love language is this. Her love language is that. And then you start to put, oh, this is why she always says, let's spend time with me. Let's just watch a movie, whatever. Quality time is her love language. It's a mix in there. but that's the main one. So it doesn't matter what we're doing, as long as we're doing it together. And then you know what? Our marriage wasn't like easy getting in. We dealt with a lot of challenges. Mostly my family challenges that were imposed into the marriage that we had to deal with.
Family sucks sometimes.
And but thank God that I married up. Right? Somebody's in the marriage, somebody's got to marry up, somebody's got to marry down. I married up, right? That's how I look at it. So just saying that, like,
So you married down?
She won't say it. But I could say it. She married down.
I think you both married up. I think when you're in the spirit, you both marry up.
I definitely married up. So just to piggyback on what he's saying, and I want to go back to kind of how we finally got, realized that it was meant to be. But man, sometimes it's just you gotta be able to laugh and have fun with each other. Be silly and just do whatever.
Hold on, baby.
Do whatever with each other. I think that's the key.
Spank your kids together,
Spank them.
Spank them together. Married. So, with having a successful marriage of 13 years and 2 beautiful children, was there ever a time where you felt like calling it quits, or what kind of, I guess to wrap this up, like what would you tell that couple out there that is very, very close to just calling it quits?
I think for me, it was more because there was so much expectations as far as, because there was a lot of things that on his side that I had to endure as far as family situations that we had to take care of. So it's gotten so overwhelming. I'm like, I don't know how much more I can do, But I think communication was probably the most important thing. Communication between both of us. And then one thing which is why I love him so much, is because we took it to prayer. Took it to God. We got on our knees. We fasted. We went and talked to our pastor at one point. Got counseling. And it was okay generally that we need to go to someone to help and not be afraid. When we said we used to talk to somebody. The stigma of going to see someone, talk to someone is like an issue.
Or even the stigma of your marriage isn't going ideally.
Yeah.
That there's a stigma, but I guess we just didn't have the pride enough to ignore it. We just were like, let's confront this and let's go talk to our pastor. We've never been down this road. We've never been married before, and the main thing is understanding that God is in the business of restoring relationships and lives. So like no matter where you are, he's willing to restore as long as you're willing to meet him and do the work.
It takes both parties to do it. If one person can't, it's not going to be willing, and there's nothing we can do about it. But we are both willing, and that was a blessing.